From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of evenings LA with incredible great news tonight about your stocks, your bonds, your crypto, and of course, from the shores of Santa Monica, California tonight, your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In tonight's major recording over this 1 hour broadcast, we're going to go over those incredible checks. Four stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state, and our view of this channel have got to them. Thank goodness. Because this U.S. economy is going down very quickly and very suddenly. All the latest developing details on this economy tonight. Stocks up relatively well on a Monday for May 23rd, 2022. Bonds pulling back down less than 3% on the yields, and oil relatively flat. But crypto getting trash talked left and right, and crypto trying to hold that 30,000 for Bit and certainly for 2,000 for Ethereum. Tonight we have the latest developing details on the Build Back Better Act. The negotiations back underway to get it done very quickly. How quickly? How much money? What provisions? I have the latest details in tonight's recording. And that Build Back Better Act would give you big checks, but yes, they are on top of the existing checks that are in every U.S. state. A fourth stimulus check has landed in every U.S. state. How do you get it? You stay throughout this broadcast and stay to the very end, because I have another new check tonight at the very end. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. And Step 3, get that incredible newsletter. We'll be turning to what Jay Powell's likely to say tomorrow, the head of the Federal Reserve, and how it impacts your SS300. Next over to student loan debt forgiveness. A deal is in the works. Whoa. Bear market? Yes. Recessionary bear market, what does that mean? It's a shocker. I have the latest developing details on that front. How low could we go in this market? Recession. When is that recession going to hit, and what do Americans now believe has changed? The latest unfolding details on that. Plus, later in this video, we'll look back to 1 year ago. What did we learn 1 year ago? Doge to $1 didn't happen. Ethereum to 10,000 didn't happen. But the situation for you is all great, as a fourth stimulus check has landed in every U.S. state, and viewers have got to it. Your opportunity starts tonight. It starts on this recording. It starts right now. As America's most watched show for financial news, Evenings LA heats up from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Good evening. Let's get to the details, and they all start right now. And good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a beautiful night. For May 23rd, 2022, this is Evenings LA from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Tonight, good evening. Hope you're having a beautiful evening. And yes, we have big money for you in this incredible recording from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Get ready with your fingers and get ready to pounce, because I got big checks. A fourth stimulus check is in every U.S. state right now. And how do you get it? You stay with me over this 1 hour broadcast. I'll show you where, how, and how to get these incredible sums of money. It's for you if you're single, if you're married, if you have children, if you don't have children, if you're on benefits, if you don't have benefits. I have the latest details on these big checks and why they are absolutely incredible. Then we'll be turning back to what's going on with the Build Back Better Act, the changing of the face of this U.S. economy as it starts to erode very quickly. And then we'll also be looking at the prognosis for next year. Recession now, recession then. I'll have all the latest details in tonight's recording from the shores of Santa Monica, California. But with that, let's go right into the breaking news tonight. The breaking news tonight is a fourth stimulus check is in every U.S. state. Thank goodness it is. And I'm going to show you how to get it later in this recording. Why? Because the economic data across the board continues to erode. A year ago this week, we were talking about some channels saying $1 for Doge to $1. Didn't happen. Tonight it's 8 cents. Americans thought that the real estate market was going to be gangbusters throughout 2022. It's not. Housing starts continue to be down, and tomorrow we have the new housing numbers as well. We thought that inflation was going to be coming down. I did not say that. In fact, I said it was going to be consistent. And we have the latest on that. Then, could inflation be going higher? Oh, boy. But let's first start tonight with the Build Back Better Act. and those incredible checks that would give you more than the four stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state. This is, in fact, in addition to those checks. The four stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state tonight are a lot. They are more than the consumer savings of Americans' bank accounts we learned in less than 48 hours. But the great news is that the Build Back Better Act is negotiating, once again, to get it done within just a few days. And those checks in the Build Back Better Act would be a lot. Upwards of $15,000 to $80,000 of additional checks in there on top of the checks that are in every U.S. state. What do we know tonight about these negotiations? Number one, the cast of characters is not what was initially thought. It does not involve Joe Biden. It does not involve Bernie Sanders or Nancy or Janet Yellen or Elizabeth Warren. It only involves two individuals, and they are Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer, the Democrat from New York and the Democrat from West Virginia, senators. Number two, both individuals say to news that they want to get these done right away. They say Americans are hurting and they both want to get it done right away. Great news on that front. Then they say that the negotiations are likely to continue to go well, and they have been going well, they say, in recent days. And finally, they say you need these checks before the midterm elections in view of the changing economic developing details across the board. That's all great news. So what do we know about these two individuals and these big developing details about the Build Back Better Act? Here's what we know tonight. Number one, that Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin are two individuals who are very, very blunt, but also very fond of each other. And if they don't like a provision, they'll tell you they don't like the provision. Moreover, not including the negotiations are any progressives. So they both believe they're going to get it done. I believe they're going to get it done as well. How quickly? They're signaling that they want to get this done to law by Memorial Day weekend. Really, really tight. But I believe it's still going to happen, just not clear what day. What is the it? What would survive during the negotiations of Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden and Joe Manchin? The provisions that survive, we're going to look at them right now. What my projections are for you is that the 2022 law version of Build Back Better Act will be quite different than the 2021 negotiated elements of the Build Back Better Act. That is why it's important to stay with me to later in this video, because those four stimulus checks in every U.S. state are huge tonight. Those four stimulus checks in every U.S. state are, in fact, more than the consumer savings of most bank accounts. A new report released suggests that consumer savings dropped 15% year to date. Well, the great news is that the checks I have for you later in this recording that are in every U.S. state are more than the average bank account of Americans. Whoa. So let's go into the Build Back Better Act, and let's look at those three clusters and three add-ons. And let's see what provisions would survive and what provisions would not survive. This is analysis based upon the statements made by Joe Manchin over the last year. And we're going to start with those different add-ons of checks. Number one, the $25,000 for the purchase of a new home. Will that provision survive the negotiations? I believe it will. This is the Maxine Waters provision that was added in there that would give you money for the purchase of your first home. Does Joe Manchin support it or reject it? He hasn't spoken on point about it, but as the housing starts continues to slump, as the mortgage rates continue to surge from 3% to 5%, I believe that Joe Manchin would support it. What about the next add-on of checks? Would Joe Manchin remove it or keep it in there? $250 billion of free home health care. It would absolutely not survive. I believe that Joe Manchin will remove it. The totality of Joe Manchin's comments in 2021 were the following. Any provision that is funded by Medicare or would increase the Medicare expansion of the U.S. government, he will vote against. So he wants nothing that comes from Medicare expansion. That is the $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. I think that provision will fall apart. What about the MSC? Would that potential provision survive? I think it will survive, but potentially a different amount. It's a different year. The negotiated elements involved $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months offered. It was never actually in the Build Back Better Act, and that's about $7,000. Would that provision survive? I have never seen anything from Joe Manchin against MSC. But now let's turn to the individual clusters. Hazard pay. In that first cluster, the earned income tax credit for 1 more year. Would Joe Manchin remove it? I don't believe he would. This is the earned income tax credit from 2021, the American Rescue Plan, third stimulus for my hazard pay individuals. I believe it would survive. $4,000 of elder care, $4,000 of children. Would that survive? If it does not come from Medicare, it would. If it does, it doesn't survive. The CTC, $3,600 for the young children. Would that survive the negotiations of Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin? This one's a gray area because this is one of those items that he's not very excited about, but he's never spoken against it. $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric car. Well, now we get a little bit dicey because this is energy and Joe Manchin's head of the Energy Commission in the Senate. The provision for the car is not anything anti-energy for Joe Manchin's concept, so I think it survives. Nutrition, yes, that would survive. And the home repairs, I believe that would survive as well. When we get to the second cluster, it's more black and white. Less guessing here, because Joe Manchin actually told us. The home repairs has actually been removed. It's actually now executive order. It is Check A. It's a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. It's coming up later in this recording. But the paid leave, it's going to get removed. Joe Manchin in 2021 said he would vote against the Build Back Better Act if paid leave is in there. It was removed because of those comments. Then Nancy Pelosi, in spite of Joe Manchin, put it back in there. That is why the House version of the past Build Back Better Act has paid leave in there. Yes, Joe Manchin's going to remove it. Let's go to that third cluster where we find a lot of casualties that I'm predicting. Free internet for all checks, farmers checks, yes, they're staying in there. Independent contractors, sure, that would stay in there. But the seniors checks, all of them that are funded by expanding Medicare, going to get removed. Dental, not going to survive. Hearing, not going to survive. Vision, not going to survive. The Medicaid gap fix, well, that will survive. That was a Joe Manchin and Raphael Warnock provision that will provide a 12 Republican holdout states a workaround plan to provide insurance to uninsured people in those states. Finally, what about the reduction of Medicare coverage from people 65 to 55? Will that survive? Absolutely not. Joe Manchin does not want more people on Medicare than currently. That is a no-brainer. So that is the situation for the Build Back Better Act and the negotiations currently underway. Of course, that's just analysis. It hasn't been confirmed in any words by these two individuals in the last few days of what's surviving or not surviving. That is why there's no guessing game when it comes to me and you. The forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state tonight are law. I'm going to show you how to get them today. There's no guessing game about them. Viewers have got to them. And step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday. It all starts with membership of this channel. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. How do you get these huge checks? They're coming up later in the video. Today, Wall Street trying to rally up. It was upwards of 600 points up, the Dow Jones, earlier in the day, and the bond market pulling back down. That was good news, 2.8% throughout much of the day. Crypto taking a bath yesterday, but trying to rally up a little bit. But overall, the economic situation not much different than the week before. Wall Street last week ended the 7th consecutive week down of trading, the worst downward spiral since the 1920s. We're clearly in a bear market, but are we going much lower? Of course we are. The current situation is that stocks are down 20% year to date, but that's just part of the erosion to start. Let's go over the details right now. First, we have a new report out minutes ago that suggests that consumer confidence fell this year, even before the economic magnitude of today's events started to kick in. Consumer confidence, gauged by the Federal Reserve's annual survey of household economic and decision-making for 2021, was released minutes ago. Yes, this is a last year data number released today. It showed that in 2019, consumer confidence was at 50% of the U.S. economy. That 50% of people polled said the economy was doing really well in 2019. In 2020, it dropped to 26%. Last year, it dropped to 24%. This comes on the news as a lot of negative statements are being made, but the statements are perhaps sometimes a little bit watered down. In February this year, I said we're going into a recession. This U.S. economy is going into recession. 2 years starting in January of this coming year. That's what I reported back in February. At the time, no one in the landscape of American broadcast news was reporting any type of recession except me. By April, the German bank Deutsche Bank confirmed the same reporting. 2 years of recession starting in January. Then a few major investment banking firms said maybe, possibly recession. What happened minutes ago or late yesterday on May 22nd? The comments coming in from Qatar Investment Authority CEO Mansour Al-Mahad, which is the number 9 largest wealth fund in the globe at $450 billion of assets, is par for the course of what we're seeing right now. Investors or investment firms do not want to use the word recession, so they're dancing around the word. What does he say? He thinks that maybe we're going to have a recession light, sort of like your favorite soda. I'm not saying we're not going to have a slowdown. I'm just not saying we're going to have a recession. But if we have a recession, it'll be a light recession, says Mahmoud. Do I agree? No, we're absolutely going to a full-fledged recession. Now, here is where things changed so quickly. In February, when I was the only one talking about recession, and you and I understood it on this channel, millions of Americans weren't talking about it anywhere else. But last Friday, a major financial news channel polled its viewers. These are sophisticated viewers, because these are people who watch financial news on a regular basis. 81% of them said we're going into recession by the end of this year. Boy, that is a major change of force from people in February not even talking about recession to 81% thinking it's happening this year. Could it happen this year? And what does it mean for you? A recession is defined by 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. That's gross national product, how large the economy is growing. Are we already shrinking? We are already shrinking. We are supposed to be 7.1% growth in April, then went at 6.9%. It's hard to tell where we are right now. I'm projecting we're at 4% right now. But could we have 2 negative quarters of GDP by the end of the year? I think it's sort of hard. But you're going to see by the third quarter if that one qualifies. I think the fourth quarter will be negative GDP, and the first one of next year will be as well. What does this mean for you? This means for you that analysts have overthought and oversold this and overhyped this market. A series of brilliant new quotes obtained by LA News, released on May 22nd, yesterday, signals that this economy is going a lot further downward. In bear market right now in the stocks, even on a day where the market was up 600 points throughout much of the day, is just the start of the downward spiral. The current decline of the U.S. stock market is down 21% in the last few weeks. How much lower can we go? Get ready for this. 48%. Why? Here's the quote from Julian Emanuel, head of equity and derivative and quantitative strategy at Evercore ISI. He says that the whole thing comes down to whether there's going to be a recession. In the last 3 bear markets of the stock market, when there was no recession, the decline of the stock market was 21.3%. And we're basically there now. So when there was a bear market in the past, but with no recession, stocks went down 21.3%. But get ready for this one. In the last 3 bear markets, when there was a recession, we had the implosion of the stocks down 48%. What's the takeaway? The bleeding has just started, and the false statements have started just as well. It was 2 weeks ago that I ran a series of quotes from some financial analysts that said the tech bleeding is over. It wasn't over. We're now in the 7th consecutive week of down stocks. We'll see how this week continues. But if we're only down 21%, we have another 20%, at least 25% to go down. Yeah, we're just starting the bleeding. And how do we tell how low we're going to go? Well, we can use those 48% numbers, and we're only halfway down. The last time that happened was 2020 in the pandemic, 2008 and 2000. Let's look to Art Hogan, chief market strategist at National Securities, one of my favorite analysts. He says, you got to focus on this economic data. We'll get the April read on home sales tomorrow, which will look down as much as it was in April, but we'll get durable goods. And the one thing that's consistent in the data in the economic calendar has been that the market's reaction is often off. What have we learned as a family, as a community on this channel in the last 2 weeks? You got to grab every stimulus check that's available because the consumer confidence is eroding very quickly. Consumer confidence is changing very dramatically. And throughout this video, you're going to see what I cover called stimulus stampede. In less than 3 months, I'm projecting a massive stimulus stampede on this channel by people who are looking for checks in 3 months from now. Because by then, the hurt of this economy will be dramatically felt. The hurt you're feeling tonight is just inflation, but when the bear market takes you not from 21% down to 49% down, oh boy, you're going to feel the hurt across the board. Let me go over that hurt starting right now. It comes from, where else? The retail corporations. Last week, we had Target, we had Walmart, Ross Department Stores, and Kohl's report corporate earnings. More of them coming tomorrow, like Nordstrom's. Best Buy reported today. Massive, horrible numbers, down 50% year to date on their numbers. More data coming out through tomorrow. But what did we learn? We learned that the supply chain disruption is far more complicated than we initially thought, and they could potentially be passing the costs over to you as the weeks go on. What's going on here, folks? The big box retailers suggested that their supply chain disruption costs went through the roof in the first quarter of this year, but they absorbed the costs. They did not increase your products based upon that alone. But they may no longer be able to absorb the costs anymore, and if that's the case, get ready for a price escalation of inflation you never seen. If you think 8% inflation is too high at the moment, get ready for 12%, because that's what some analysts are projecting. I'm not agreeing that they're actually correct. I really don't have enough data just yet. That would be signaled in the second quarter earnings reports. But here's what we know tonight about supply chain disruption. Number one, it is not so simple as we initially thought. We thought is you can't get the product to the store. End of discussion. No. What we learned from Walmart and Target was that the products did land in the store. They landed too late. Hideously late. So by the time they landed, the products were out of style or out of fashion or out of season. And they sat. They did not sell. So what did Walmart say? We had products that when they landed, no one wanted them by that point. And guess what we also had? Too many store merchants on the floor working. We don't need that many merchants brought back from COVID as employees when we're not moving the goods. If the analysts are correct, they're projecting that the consumer will start to pay more for these products than they're even paying right now for the inflation. And why were those corporate earnings so poor for you? Not because of inflation, but because people did not want the products. This is mind-blowing. People did not go into Target, did not go into Walmart, did not go into Kohl's because of inflation. It's just they didn't want those products. They were too late, inapplicable, or out of season, or out of fashion. Now, imagine the price of milk tonight, which for many is unbearable at $5 a gallon, suddenly goes to $6 for a gallon of milk. Imagine if the loaf of bread, which is currently $5, goes to $7. And then imagine if the gasoline goes even higher. This is supply chain disruption that no one saw coming, and this is what Jay Powell's trying to battle. And tomorrow he's going to be speaking about it, but let me give you a preview. He's going to get it wrong, and he's going to hurt your wallet. Jay Powell will be doing a half basis point increase at that June FOMC meeting in just a few weeks from now, and he's going to do half basis point at the July and the August. Why do we know that? Because he said that last week. Buried in all the implosion of the Target corporate earnings report was the horrific statements from Jay Powell that he's coming in more aggressively. That is why you need to get every darn check that's available across the board. That fourth stimulus check that's in every U.S. state, you need to get it right now. Because why? If what Jay Powell does happens, then this is what's going to erode. First, anything that is flexibly based for credit will go through the roof. If you have car loans, if you have debt payments, credit card debt, you need to get out of the flexible basis right now and lock into something locked that is non-flexible. A flexible mortgage rate, get out of it right away and get into something fixed, because this is where it's going to get very dicey very quickly. Jay Powell in those comments last week around Thursday said, I'm going to hit that inflation as hard as I can hit it until I get inflation down by raising those interest rates. But guess what? He's going to hit and he's going to hit, and it's not going to work. And that is why that implosion will continue to hurt your wallet even more. Can you imagine that you're already suffering 8% price escalation on products and that we potentially could go higher? As Jay Powell tomorrow will speak, what will he say tomorrow? During those meetings tomorrow and the day after with Larry Brainard, they're both going to say they're getting inflation down to 2% later this year. Hilarious. It's just hilarious. That's like saying if you discount the lobster shorts in the big box retailer, people will buy them. They're still not going to buy them. And I'm not buying the 2% inflation. Jay Powell, he ain't going to do it. He ain't going to get it. He's going to try, and when he's going to try, he's going to hurt you. But I'm not going to sit back for that. I'm going to get you some stimulus checks. I'm going to go over those checks starting right now. A fourth stimulus check has landed in every U.S. state, and thank goodness it has. Where did this come from? Why did this happen? And where did it erode from? Let me give you the backdrop on this. For stimulus checks, finding them now is an art form. And to find a forced stimulus check for that art form, it requires the Picasso of it. And it's me. Hours and hours of research go into every video on this channel to find you checks. And every night when I can find you a check, I deliver it on this channel. And that is where we are tonight. Forced stimulus checks have landed in every U.S. state because of my research that they came from, not Congress, but Joseph Biden. How do you get those forced stimulus checks? They're coming up after the commercial break. After the commercial break, we'll go over those incredible forced stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state. And they're a lot. They are not small checks. I don't play games here. I get monster checks for you. And we'll go over those huge checks in the second half of this video. Meantime, student loan debt forgiveness has a big shocker. That big shocker is more debt could be forgiven this coming week. Meantime, what's going on with that SS300? The SS300 heats up with the question mark, will Joe Biden make that swap of coal to inflation before inflation comes down? Or is inflation not coming down at all? All the latest details on that front. Then we turn over to a big shocker. As Christine Lagarde, head of the ECU, trashed crypto overnight, and another individual did as well. Their statement, crypto is worthless. People should stay away from it, and that its erosion of price point will continue to happen. If that's the case, interest rates are not your worry. The erosion of an entire other financial market, cryptocurrency, could send this economy into even a more pronounced recession. All the latest details on that after the commercial break, but here's what you need to know going into the break. First, subscribe to this channel. Second, become a member. Third, get that newsletter. And after the commercial break, we'll go over those incredible checks one at a time that are now in every U.S. state. They're available for you if you're single, if you're married, with children, without children, on benefits, not on benefits, retiree, working, adult, young, own a home, rent a home. It's all available for you. And in the second half of this video, we're going to go over how to get those incredible checks and why the stimulus stampede is less than 90 days away. Plus, we'll go over the latest comments from Christine Lagarde, the latest comments about crypto. What is the Biden administration doing that student loan debt forgiveness? Then we go over to that SS300 that will raise your benefits up an additional $300 more per month. Boy, we got a big second half. As America's most watched show for financial news in prime time continues, it's Evenings LATE, and let's get to it. See you back in 60 seconds.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now. For May 23rd, 2022, from the shores of Santa Monica, California, it's Evenings LA, America's most watched show for financial news in evenings prime time. In tonight's recording, we go over those forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state and why it's important more tonight than ever before to get those checks. The looming recession, the price escalation of inflation potentially getting worse, and the unemployment situation about to implode. What's on that front? I'll have all the latest details on that coming up in a second. But first, let's get some checks. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state, and you need to get it. Step 1, during the commercial break, hopefully you subscribed. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, get that newsletter. And with that, let's go over those incredible checks starting right now by starting with how we got to this spot. It brings us back to May 2022 this year. In May, I was like you, watching the Build Back Better negotiations continue, or lack of continuation. And we wondered, what's going on here? It's taking too much time. We need money. We need it right away. So what did I do? Tired and exhausted of waiting to watch for Congress to get it done, I found your checks. Started looking high and low, researching night after night to find you checks, and I found them. 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. Where did they come from? From Joseph Biden by executive order. A 4 stimulus check is landed in every U.S. state. And this brings us back to the earliest days of this channel. In April 2020, March of 2020, when this channel launched, millions of Americans were going on to lockdown. It was an urgent situation, and you needed money right away. You were about to lose your home. You were about to lose your business. You were about to lose your job. You need money. So what did I do? I stepped forward and helped you get EIDL. EIDL grant, EIDL loan, PPP, PUA, UI, LWA, and all the different instruments that were available for you. Then, in December 2020, when Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin were trying to negotiate the second stimulus package and it was not happening, I said, we can't sit around for this any longer. We need some money. And I stepped forward and found you money. Money for rent, utilities, mortgages, and more, which became ultimately Check C on this channel. What happened in March of this year? Much the same. I said, we can't wait around anymore. We need checks. And as someone who's gotten viewers $50 million of money on this channel over the last 2 years, I stepped forward and I found those checks for you. And with that, let's go over those incredible checks starting right now. Remember, these are credible checks. You qualify for them. Single, married, with children, without children, elderly, young, on benefits, not on benefits, rent own. I got checks for you. You're not going to see this in broadcast media, print media, cable news. This is why this channel is number 1. You're not going to see this anywhere else. Hours and hours of research go into finding these checks for you. And with that, let's get the first check. It is Check A. The lettering system on this channel I create for just this channel alone. You're not going to see this lettering system anywhere else. It's just to make it simpler to refer to each check. Check A, oh boy, let's go get it. It is a $6,500 to $12,000 for stimulus check. And it is absolutely wonderful. Yes, you heard me right. $6,500 to $12,000 for stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 or less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, go get it. If you're on benefits, go get it. How do you get it, LALATE? Very simple. You subscribe. Step 1. Step 2, become a member. The membership link is under the video or at the top of the description. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Step 3, open the membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And down in that membership newsletter is the link for Check A. It tells you more about Check A and then gives you the web link. Yes, the way you apply for Check A is online. It's all in the membership newsletter. You apply, and there you go. A forced stimulus check of $6,500 to $12,000 in every U.S. state. You're not going to stop there yet because I got another forced stimulus check for you. Wow, $15,000 to $80,000. Forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. Single individual, $75,000 less. Married couple, $150,000 less. Go get it. And if you're on benefits, go get it. This graphic is not a typo. That does not say $8, $8,000 or $80. That says $80,000. That forced stimulus check is astronomical. Why? Because a new report says that U.S. consumer savings, the average savings account of U.S. consumers, was at $75,000 last year during the pandemic. It has dropped 15% this year to less than $66,000. That is why this is good news with these forced stimulus checks, because this check B, $80,000, is more than the average savings of American consumers across the board tonight. The average view of the channel for that check B has gotten $66,000 to $80,000. How do you get this check B? First, it's a forced stimulus check. Second, it's in every U.S. state. Third, single individual, $75,000 less. Married couple, $150,000 less. And finally, go get it. How? Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Join this channel. The membership link is under the video. Step 3, open the membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and go down to Check B. There is that Check B, and you click the link and you go right in and apply. $15,000 to $80,000, so simple. As Carol, a very nice longtime viewer, said over a week ago, LA, you make it so simple. You put it together in a very simple, concise newsletter, and you deliver it as a result of all your research. I don't see this anywhere else, but here, thank you, LA, I got the money. Let's go to that Check C. You're going to get this as well. This is for my renters. Yes, you heard me right. Renters and also homeowners. It is averaging out as an MSC by direct deposit right now. $2,000 a month over 12 months is what it's averaging on. What is it? It's rent, utilities, mortgages, this is more. It is what we called as purple on this channel in December 2020. Then it became third stimulus, and now it is Check C. How do you get that Check C? Same way? Yeah, you know the routine. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, go into that newsletter. Go down to Check C. The difference with Check C is you're not going to a website. No. You are making phone calls. Those phone calls, who to call? In the newsletter. What to say? In the newsletter. How to say it? In the newsletter. And you pounce. That Check C has been one of the real big success stories of this channel since late 2020. Yes, this Check C is the continuation of what was initially called on this channel Purple, then Third Stimulus, and now Check C. Look at these monies that people have gotten from this. $20,000 all the way up to $27,000 for rent. Look at these utilities. Wow, Mark's brother-in-law got $15,000. Then for SNAP, Mark's brother-in-law got $25,000 a year. Over 10 years is $250,000. Here's Mark at $32,000 for combos. Nisi at $23,000, but they didn't stop there yet. Nisi keeps on going back and getting additional sums. She's in all the Evenings LA shows in the live chat. She's gotten about $8,000 about 4 or 5 more times this year. Wow, Nisi. Great job. That is the true spirit of the Purple Hawks. Going back and getting money routinely. When you get some sums of money, you don't stop. Here's Mark at $32,000. I told him not to stop. He didn't. He went to $50,000. Then he went to $100,000. Then he went to $166,000 as he got Check B for $66,000. Here's Lorraine. She was at $105,000. Now she's at $120,000. How do you do this? So simple. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. And step 3, go into that membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Let's recap. First, you go to the Finance channel, hit that subscribe button. Then you go under the video where it says join here. Join as a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. And finally, there's a little bell at the front of this channel. Hit that bell and make sure it's set to all notifications. So you get notifications Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That newsletter is delivered to you with the title that says New LA Post at 7 p.m. Meantime, if you're a member and you're having questions about the newsletter, where is it, how do I get it, send me a private message on Facebook and I'll answer you and I will send you a new video that gives you a description of how the newsletter works, how it's delivered, and more. It's all just for you and only on this channel. And with that, the incredible news is that Jay Powell will be coming aggressively, but that aggressive push from Jay Powell will be preempted by you and I. Why? Because we are here getting checks, cashing checks in May 2020. Because by August, folks, oh boy, what's going to be happening? I call it stimulus stampede. By August, the wrath of this economy will start to really hit. You may already be feeling the impact of the economy right tonight, but you're feeling the impact of inflationary pressure. The price of goods gone up. That's what you're feeling right now. There's a storm out to sea, and that storm out to sea is recession. And as that recession gets closer to sea, the wind picks up. That picking up of the wind has not yet been felt. When that picking up of the wind is felt, then there's going to be a stimulus stampede. Millions of Americans will say, LALATE, do you have checks for me? What do you have for me? And this is what I'm projecting for you. In 3 months from now, there's going to be a stimulus stampede. People are going to go to work at the big box retailer, and they're going to say, thank you for your service, but I really don't need you here anymore. You can stay home. They can get laid off. People can get laid off. So they're going to come back to the channel and say, do you have that wonderful PUA, FPC from 2020? No, doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't exist anymore. No, they got rid of it. There's no FPC anymore. There's no PUA. Then people will have potentially problems with their small businesses. And then suddenly say, my small business is about to go under, LA. Do you have an EIDL grant? Can I get another EIDL loan? And the answer could be no, it doesn't exist anymore. I don't got it anymore. What about LWA or PPP? Can you get some of that money for me? No, I don't have it anymore. It doesn't exist. They did not extend those programs. Those programs are over. And with that, it won't be a picker's environment where you could say, I'll pick EIDL versus LWA, or I'll pick PPP versus PUA. You'll have none of those to pick from. All you'll have is what I have on this channel. Those 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. And that is why you got to get the money tonight. You're watching this video, thankfully, in May, before the stimulus stampede really happens in August. And while that stimulus stampede is on the horizon, you can't wait, because as more people are hurting, they're going to be really hustling to get checks when the spiraling of the economy is felt. Where will it be felt? First, it's those unemployment numbers, and we're going to be watching for those unemployment numbers coming on Thursday. Boy, it was 200,000 new jobless claims released 2 weeks ago on those Thursday numbers, and that's not a good number. So what should we see this Thursday? I hope it is not more than 210. If it's more than 210, that is part of the problem of the equation. Next, we're going to start to see the impact of all these markets not doing well. You can't have multiple markets not doing well at the same time. And that is why Joe Biden needs to do 2 things very quickly. What are those 2 things? Let's go over them first before we go back to those economic developing details. First, Joe Biden needs to make that swap from COLA to inflation. Joe Biden at joebiden.com in his presidential platform said he would make that swap from COLA to inflation. You need this right now. Why? Because whether it's Jeff Bezos or myself, whether it's Joe Biden or Jay Powell, we all agree upon the same thing. The people who cannot deal with the rising price of goods in the stores, inflation, the worst impact is being felt upon the low-income generating households and the people on benefits. You need money right before anyone else. And that is why Joe Biden needs to make that swap from COLA to inflation. How does this work? If he swapped COLA for inflation today, you would lock in the current inflationary environment, which, by all indications, 8% tonight. That would be $200 more per month. And if inflation tracks at 4% later this year, that would be another $100. That would be SS300. Back last summer, when I was recording these videos, I said last summer, in May of 2021, that we're going to come up to 8% inflation by December 2021. At the time, I was the only one saying 8%, with the exception of Art Siegel out of Wharton, who said 12%. Jay Powell, what did he say? 1 to 2% and temporary. I said, not going to happen. I said 8% and consistent. That's what happened. 8% inflation all the way up through March, in which it potentially went a little bit higher. Tonight, that inflationary rate is still at 8%. So the good news, if Joe Biden made the phone call tonight, you'd lock in $200 more per month. Not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. Because once your benefits go up, they never go down. Therefore, take this video. Share it on social media. Tag POTUS. Tag Joe Biden. Hashtag LALATE. Hashtag Purple Power. Hashtag Joe Make the Call. Advocate for Joe Biden to make that swap from COLA to inflation. That would give you $200 more per month. What if inflation tracks at 8% this December? That would be really bad for the U.S. economy, but it would raise your benefits up another $200. That would be SS400. Joe Biden needs to make that swap from COLA to inflation right tonight before inflation comes down. He's done this before when he contacted the Department of Agriculture and said, you're not paying enough money for food, pay them more money. Let's go to the next thing that Joe Biden needs to do right away. He needs to make the determination and get it done with that student loan debt forgiveness. And the breaking news tonight is that Biden is likely to make the final announcement on student loan debt forgiveness this week. One of the analysts who I really adore, his name is Mark Kranowitz, he's a higher education expert, says Biden's meeting this week with policymakers who have been advocating for loan forgiveness, student loan debt forgiveness. An announcement will be imminent. In all likelihood, student loan debt forgiveness will be limited in eligibility and amount, so you can count on it not erasing all of your student loan debt. Joe Biden has likely announced $10,000 of student loan debt forgiven and get it done. And here's my takeaway on the situation. Number one, he needs to do it right now. It's too much of a financial burden. Number two, it doesn't look good for him holding this out. He's getting more angered the more this goes on. This is a story that's actually front page news on every publication. And every time he's having a press conference, whether it's about this or that, there's always one reporter in the room that says, are you going to do $50,000 of student loan debt forgiveness, Mr. President? And he's angry by the question. He doesn't like the question. So if you're angry with the question, just do $10,000 and let's move on. Take your victory step and path and get it done. The president already forgave student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation. He forgave student loan debts for individuals who went to work in the nonprofit or the public sector after graduation. And then for debts that were procured by fraud, the president forgave those as well. If your debts were due in May, they've been rolled over to September. And if your debts were in default, they've been put in good standing. But let's get this done, Joe. Hashtag Joe made the call. Have him swap that COLA for inflation, get that done. And then just do this $10,000 of student loan debt forgiveness. Now, if you're a longtime viewer, how do you determine how your debts are forgiven? I've had a lot of viewers get their student loan debts forgiven. Let me give you the runaround. Let me give you the rundown about this one more time. Go to Department of Education, open up their press releases. It's a .gov website, and read everything from Miguel Cardona, your education secretary, in the last 3 months. And see if your debts are forgiven. IDR credit, student loan, public service loan forgiveness, and income credit loan. Those are among the items that Miguel Cardona, who's of course the education secretary, is trying to modify the statutes to get your student loan debts forgiven. And there you go. That is the situation on those two fronts. Now, let's go back into this economy, your money, and where we're going, and the shocker of crypto. You know, when you look at this economy, if a lot of things are going badly at the same time, there's no way to hide. There's no way to hide. And what's happening with this economy is we're getting a lot of bad analyst statements out across the board. Let me give you why the analyst statements are so poor in some cases. Some of them really have a financial interest in what they're saying. For example, if it's a brokerage firm and they're trying to get you to trade stocks, they want you to trade stocks. They don't want you to hold and wait out this economy for 2 more years. If it's a real estate broker, they're trying to have you buy a house or sell the house. So they all have a little bit of an interest in what they're saying to you. Here's where the data gets very problematic unless someone tells you the whole story. Here's what's going on. Last week, we had a new number that was released by the National Association of Realtors. And the numbers showed that the housing numbers were relatively good or flat. Quick turnaround time on the houses on the market, selling within 7 days. Prices of home went up. It was a generally good number until their economist really did what he's supposed to do really quite well. He said this is data from April, but it's really not data from April because it's for homes that went into contract back in February. Yes, a home that goes for sale usually has a 60-day escrow, a 30-day escrow, a 90-day escrow. So you don't see the housing sales numbers until 3 months later. Here's why this is important. The mortgage rates were 3%, very low in February. Now they're 5.5%. You don't have the 5.5% impact on the housing market data available this month or even next month. It's delayed. It's very delayed, so you're not going to see this burden. This is why, of all the economic data that I'm really looking to, it's the retail sales numbers. Because the retailers are telling us stuff we never even knew about. We never knew that the products are coming, but they're coming late. And then they're not selling, so then they have to discount them. We never knew this part of the equation. And that's what's going to bring the economy down, is when we learn that the supply chain disruption is something we did not have a risk assessed for in the markets. Now, here's where bad data and bad analysis compound each other. Housing. It was no less than 3 weeks ago that we had a realtor out of New York and a major quote that said, the real estate market in New York is so wonderful because the average condo sale, said the individual, is $3 million and it's all cash sellers and all cash buyers. It sounds all perfect, doesn't it? Part of the equation that the person's not saying to you in the quote is when they say all cash, it doesn't really mean that they had cash sitting around in the bank for 5 years at $3 million. It means they came up with cash to buy the condo. Yeah, you see where I'm going. To come up with $3 million of cash to go buy a condo, where's the cash coming from? Tonight, it's very hard for anyone who wants to come up with that $3 million of cash to do it if Yep, here we go. One, the cash is actually in stocks, and the stocks are down 20%. Who's going to sell their stocks if they're down 20% to raise $3 million of cash to go buy a condo? You're not going to do it. What if the stocks go down 40% if we go into a recession? You're really not going to sell the stocks. You don't want to lose half of your value for stocks to go buy a condo. Yeah, suddenly you can't come up with the all-cash buy for those condos. Let's go over to crypto. Remember a year ago this month? A year ago this month, I was featuring the nonsense of Dogecoin. The complete, utter nonsense. I told you when Elon Musk appeared on Saturday Night Live to get out of Dogecoin because it's never going to $1. And what do we have? Every crazy YouTuber saying these insane recordings. Doge to $1, Doge millionaire, Doge father, Doge grandfather, Doge doctor, Doge, Doge whatever. It never went to $1. Tonight, Dogecoin is 9 cents. Shiba's basically worthless. Cardano is less than half a dollar. And Doge is not the only implosion. The implosion of crypto signals that millions of Americans who had investments in crypto are losing their shirt. They're not going to have the cash to go get something else. And this is how things erode very quickly. Now, you may not own stocks, you may not own crypto, but it all impacts your wallet because guess what happens? You work for a business owner who does, and that business owner suddenly is taking a loss at home, and then they don't have the consumer that comes in the store. What if you're a retiree? What if you are just on benefits? Then you're going to see, when you go to the market, the products go up. What about the gasoline? Oh boy, we're just getting on the problem with this gasoline. The price of Brent crude and the price of AAA national average of domestic unleaded at the pump is featured in the membership newsletter nightly. But let me tell you where it's going. Price of gasoline, domestic unleaded in the United States, has risen very quickly from $4.14 to about $4.45 in less than a week. It's a very big run up. During that time, international Brent crude oil has not gone up. It's been flat, 112. Why? This is why. Because the impact internationally has not been yet felt. China is on lockdown because of subvariant of Omicron. And when they come off of lockdown in June, guess what they're going to be doing? Driving their cars. And they are major consumers of gasoline. As they increase their consumption, the shortage will grow. And as the shortage grows, the price is going to go up. I fully expect, predicting that the price of Brent crude in less than 90 days will be $120 a barrel, not $112 like tonight. That means I'm projecting that the price of gasoline at the pump will not go from $4.50, it will go to $5.50. Yeah, it's going up very, very dramatically across the board. The economic data this week will continue to come in, and what is the data I want to look at, and what is the data you want to stay with me this week? We have a lot of corporate earnings and a lot of statements from Fed governors. Let's look and see what this week has for us coming up. On Tuesday, we're going to have the big retailer numbers. We did have Best Buy report give projections down 50% today. But on Tuesday, we're going to have Nordstrom, AutoZone, and Ralph Lauren. Big retailer day. Thursday's even bigger. Wednesday, we'll have Dick's Sporting Good, and we'll have also Express. But Thursday, look at these corporate earnings. Oh, we're going to learn a lot about this economy, where we're going in this recession on Thursday. We have Macy's, we have Costco. We have Alibaba, we have Burlington stores. Let's look at the data, the economic data. What days and which data? So Tuesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Mornings LA, we'll have new home sales. Oh boy, you think it's going to be down? I think it's going to be down. Wednesday, we're going to have we're going to have durable goods, which is going to be big. And then Thursday, I want to see that one. At 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Mornings LA, live on air, we're going to have the jobless claims and pending home sales and the real GDP second estimate for Q1. There's that GDP number. Now, Jay Powell will be speaking Tuesday at about 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Leno Brainard this next day on Wednesday. Here's the takeaway from me to you is that as industries continue to erode, the situation will get worse. As the situation gets worse, people are going to try to get out of their positions, and they won't. They'll have less value. The data continue to come in today as major trash talking came in for crypto. And not just from someone off the side of the road. It was from some of the major forces in the landscape of financial news. Where do the statements come from? They came from Christine Lagarde, who is that European Community's central bank leader. She basically said it's worthless. It's a worthless investment and you should not be in it. And then we had another person saying, you know what? The rest of the stuff besides Ethereum and Bitcoin are a mess, and you should never have been invested in them in the first place. Really shocking details. If that's the case, what does that mean for you? Many analysts, including that quote featured on Afternoons LA today, said that you could see some of the biggest crypto positions go down to numbers we've never seen since the last major crypto crash several years ago. Here we go. Junk status? Well, investment officer Scott Minard at Guggenheim said that Bitcoin could fall all the way down to $8,000 a coin. That's from $30,000 tonight. That would represent a 70% drop from Monday's price of a little bit more than $30,000. When you break the $30,000 threshold, $8,000 is the ultimate bottom. So I think we have a lot more room on the downside, especially if the Fed becomes restrictive. Then Bitcoin has really struggled. If Minard's forecast is correct, that would wipe out an enormous amount of wealth in the United States economy. The CEO says most other junk besides Ethereum and Bitcoin is junk. Junk. That's a quote tonight. It's not done there yet because Christine Lagarde had a similar comment. Of course, she's the European Central Bank's president. She says, my very humble assessment is that crypto is worth nothing. It's based on nothing. There's no underlying asset to anchor the safety of its value. And my concern about those people who are going after a reward when they have no understanding of the risk, they're going to lose it all. That's a quote. That's a quote. They're going to lose it all. And they're going to be terribly disappointed. To which one person in the audience stood up and said, President Lagarde, I was in Cardano and I lost $7,500. She said, I'm very, very sorry. That hurts. The takeaway tonight is that some people have really been out to left field in 2021. Some people were really out to left field in early 2022. But you and I weren't. You and I as a community have stayed really tight with the data. And the data tonight is even more tight and even more troubling. Here's what we know. Number one, the inflationary environment that you feel right now, the gasoline, the price of milk, the price of bread is going to get worse. It's not going to come down. It's actually going to go higher. And at one point, we're going to see really the backlash against Jay Powell kick in. Because at that point, after several meetings of that FOMC, like in June, where he's going to do a half basis point again, it's not working. And people are going to say, what are you doing? He's going to hit, as he said last Friday, hit and hit and hit at half basis point over and over again, June, July, and August FOMC meetings. It's not going to work. Suddenly people can say, something's not working here. We need to find another approach to the situation. Number two, the layoffs are going to start. The layoffs, the unemployment situation is going to get very bad very quickly. It was just in February when we're talking about you can't get people to work. You have to give them bonuses. Suddenly people are not going to have jobs. They're going to be laid off because the businesses are making less money. They're not selling the products, and they don't need that many retailer, store merchants, store employees to move merchandise that's not moving. Number three, the slow implosion of different items is going to start to kick in, like housing. People can't come up with the cash to buy something because the crypto's down. They can't sell the stocks because the stocks are down. They're just not going to sell. They're staying in position. They're not going to move. They don't have cash, literally liquid cash in the bank. They're not going to change their positions or close out their positions because they're down 50%. Then that's going to continue to erode other things as the consumer confidence is really falling very dramatically. You notice how that has happened just in the last few days. We went for people not even talking about recession in February to now 81% of the American economy, American viewers now saying we're going to recession by the end of this year. Then we're going to see whether the data is really signaling inflationary pressures next year. But my concern is really neither of that. My concern is when that wind of that storm of the recession is felt on land. That recession is out to sea and that wind is going to pick up on land. And as the wind picks up, guess what's going to happen? Yeah, you know the two words. Say it in the live chat. Stimulus stampede. The stimulus stampede is going to hit and people are going to say, where do you have some EIDL or some PUA or some FPC? And I'm going to say, I don't have it. But I do have a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. And ultimately, those checks will run out. The great news is that you are here tonight. Step one, subscribe right tonight to the best and only channel like this in the American landscape, where I've been getting people big sums of money since day one, $50 million, and I'm still getting people tonight. I'll still be focusing every night and every day and every hour on getting you checks. Step two, become a member. Step three, get that newsletter, the only newsletter of its kind in American landscape. And then in that newsletter, pounce and get check A, B, C, And what? Yes, I have a surprise for you, as I said I would in the final minutes of this video. There's some check Ds in some states. 24 states have a check D, and that number will grow, because I'm expecting that number of states to grow to 40 states. How do you find out about Check D? You go in that membership newsletter, go down to Check D, and find the information. Finally, make sure you watch the videos throughout the day. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of major economic news. You saw already what's happening later this week, so you can't miss a video. We start before sunrise, on sunrise at 3 and 3:30, then early mornings LA at 4, then countdown, mornings at 7 a.m., live on air on mornings LA at 9, live on air at 11 a.m. with home, then 1 o'clock afternoons, 3 o'clock afternoons, and then our evening shows, 5 o'clock evenings, 6 o'clock, countdown, 7 o'clock stream stillness, 8 o'clock extra, and 9 o'clock sunset. And then don't miss our overnight shows, and of course, the very popular LALATE Live, which starts at approximately 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time nightly. Subscribe, become a member, and get these incredible checks. That stimulus stampede is coming. And tomorrow we'll see the latest developing details as Jay Powell speaks. What is he going to talk about? Lobster shorts are the fashion of the moment. He'll be talking about some nonsense. San Francisco hairstyles are really desired. They're not Jay Powell. He'll talk about everything that makes no sense, and I'll analyze it all for you. We'll determine whether that bear market is far from finished and how quickly that recession is upon us. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, God bless. Thank you for being part of this incredible family, and welcome if you're a new member. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful night, and stay with LA for more.